what is performance evaluation? Yes, anyone?
Evaluate inner capability of the person.
Evaluate the inherent capability, did you say? Huh? I see. So, what he says is performance evaluation is inherent capability of a person. Any other views? Evaluation of work assigned. All right. So, here it was inherent capability. Now, your view is evaluation of the work assigned So, the focus here is, he says, on work, right. Any other views? Any other views? One is inherent, internal, the other is the work assigned. All right, let us stop here. Let us take the number 1. How do you think you will evaluate the inherent capability of a person? Say he is working under you, you are the manager, he is working under you.
By observing the person doing the work.
By observation. Observation of how he does the work. With respect to time. How he does his work with respect to time. So, time is important. Anything else important? Quality of work. And what quality? So, this is by observation. So, if you observe, you will be able to form an opinion of his inherent capability and observe with respect to time as well as the quality. Everyone agrees with that? That is the performance evaluation. What about this other definition or view, evaluation of work assigned? Is this not the same as that? So, you are both coming around to the same view, that is really the work which is assigned and how he does the work, all right, how he does the work in terms of some parameters which you set. So, if you assign work, you must measure it. So, you are coming to evaluation is a kind of measurement, isn't it? Isn't it? When you evaluate, what are you doing? You are trying to measure. Measure what? Against a reference framework of what work has been assigned, how he does it, and what time. So, how is what time, quality. So, essentially it is work related, all right. Now, let us see some formal definitions. So, it says what is performance appraisal? Performance appraisal is the systematic evaluation of the individual with regard to his or her performance on the job. Performance on the job, that means work which is given to him, how he performs, and his potential for development. You see, this is a new concept. which we did not discuss just now. We discuss only work assigned, how well he does it, against what reference framework, and you said quality is one framework, time. Here he says potential for development. Now, why is that important?
Because by training we can make
Because by training you can,
improve the performance.
yeah, he has an inherent capability, as you said earlier. If you are trying to see inherent capability, that is more the potential that you are trying to evaluate. So, you have got evaluation of two things. One is the actual job performance, which is here and now at present what he is doing, and the second is equally important, what he may be capable of doing provided A, B, C, as you said, provided A, training, there may be some other exposure which has to be given. So, present performance and potential performance, these are the two very, very important factors by which you evaluate people in organizations. So, we say evaluation is present performance and potential. These two are extremely important. Potential performance. Now, obviously, which is the more difficult to evaluate? Tell me. To me, it seems obvious. Potential performance, because that is something uncertain. You may go wrong there. Whereas present performance, if you have set the tasks pretty clearly, define the tasks which he has to do, then it is that much the easier for you to measure that. Okay. Why do you have to really appraise and evaluate a person's performance?
You are going to pay them.
You are going to pay them, very correct. So, if he performs better, you should pay him better or more. Everyone agrees with that? Is that the principle which is acceptable? Those who perform better, they should be paid more? Accept? Yeah, some sort of incentive. But say I propose to you that he should be paid according to his needs. No? Say someone has got a larger family. Commitments, unmarried sisters, he has to marry of the sisters. Aged parents who are sick, he needs more money.
But that will demotivate some of them.
That will demotivate some others,
Those who are having
small
small families.
families. So, what is fair, what is equitable? See, when in companies and organizations which live within a society, okay, subject to the norms of the society, subject to its own culture, what is it that we try to see? When you reward, you see, this discussion came out of the fact, I said, why do you want to appraise and evaluate performance? And you said, because you want to reward. Very right. This is one of the important things why you want to evaluate is because of rewarding. Then we are discussing the philosophy. Is that just acceptable? Those who perform better should get more reward, or is there any other yardstick like the need?
Some minimum wage should be fixed and then
Minimum wage should be fixed. See, as in life, everything there has to be a balance. Sometimes, so what is happening nowadays, this is a little bit of departure. We will have wage and salary administration, another topic where these will be discussed, but let us see, because it is interconnected, nothing, although we separate the topics, human resource management is holistic, everything is interconnected, just like human behavior, all topics are interconnected. So, in reward systems now, all right, they try to have a mixture of both. For instance, compensation packages which are now designed and offered, okay, they say, all right, these are the various heads which are absolutely essential, like salaries, all right, and DNS allowance, basic salary, DNS allowance, some allowances. But then in that basket you have a choice. The choice is if you are an older employee, for instance, you may choose to have education allowance. If you are unmarried bachelor, you may choose to have a holiday allowance. So, you can make up your package like a salad. You have a buffet, have you been? Buffet is, you can make your own salad. You take onions and tomatoes, whatever you have, there is an area of it. Then you make what you want. So, the wage and administration nowadays, modern thinking is make it need based as well as performance. Okay? So, here is another. Performance appraisal is a systematic periodic. Remember one thing, they keep saying systematic and periodic. That is also important to keep up the motivation. No? Say you had a company where you appraise today and then after 6 months, then after 2 years, then you do not appraise for 3 years. It is not systematic, it is not periodic. It is likely to demotivate, because then you say either kuch bhi chalta hai, sometimes we get increment, sometimes we do not get increment. So, that is why the word systematic and periodical and impartial rating. So, what does the word impartial bring in? What is the thought? Impartial thought is it should be based on performance or merit, how well you perform. And what does it therefore imply? It implies should not be favoritism, should not be there. Now, how do you make something impartial? You basically make it objective if it is impartial. You set yardsticks and you measure against those yardsticks the performance targets which you have set. Because if you do not have any yardsticks, how are you going to evaluate him? If you do not set any targets to him, you will evaluate by only your subjective judgment, And the principle here is that you may go wrong if you go by subjective judgment only. You see, you can never eliminate subjective judgment when you evaluate people. Can you? Human being, when you are evaluating, can you give him a job which is 100% measurable? Maybe at the very lower levels, isn't it? Where it is a repetitive kind of work, nothing else, you can set the time standards and you can measure. But how many such jobs do you have? Mainly in the organization, at least we talk of jobs in the office, as we call monthly rated jobs, okay, managerial jobs, supervisory job. Can you define all these jobs and set targets? It is not possible. So, by and large, we always try to be impartial, that means try and be objective by setting the targets and defining the objectives and tasks. But you can never eliminate the subjective element, and that is up to the integrity and honesty of you yourself, that you try to keep that subjective part of the evaluation as objective as you can. You make your judgment objective. If you do not like the fellow, but you still feel that he has more or less done a good job by whatever task you have set him. So, go by that and not that 1 or 2 incidents that happen, okay, where he maybe answered you back or argued with you. Let that not color your judgment to make you give him a lower appraisal. Okay. So, employees impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matters pertaining to his present job and his potential for a better job. So, what is emerging, as you can see, is when you appraise, you have to appraise against 2 parameters. One is present job, how has he done, and what in your opinion and judgment is his potential for holding higher responsibilities and higher jobs. Okay. So, when you actually come down to the nitty-gritty of designing forms, because it says systematic and periodic, the evaluation you have to do systematically, maybe once a year or twice a year or 4 times a year, every quarter or every semester. What do we do in educational institution? We also evaluate, right, but we give tests and quizzes and examinations, and we do not do it at random. At least the basic examination we do as per academic calendar. So, similarly in companies, the basic evaluation and appraisal is done systematically a number of times a year. How do you decide? We will come to that, but by and large how he does his work today gives you some indicator of his how likely is he to do work tomorrow. Then there are other psychological assessments which can be used, psychological instruments. You have what is called assessment centers, where certain tasks are given, okay, certain jobs are given, and from that you can observe his ability to work with others, for instance, his interpersonal skills. As we said earlier, that you first have to describe a job, right, and having described a job, you have to then specify the job, means what kind of people will do that job. So, if you are trying to look at senior manager positions, you have to see whether he has a good emotional quotient or not, EQ. You remember EQ we said? Ability to live with ambiguity. So, in the assessment centers you have team working, where problems are given. Some of these problems are uncertain. You do not have all the data that you need, it is uncertain, ambiguous. How well can you take decisions? So, there are various things which you think is a job description or a senior manager, right? Decision making, the ability to take decisions. See, there are some people who are decision averse, that means they do not like to take a decision, they are frightened. Why? Because if the decision they take, it goes wrong, then the blame will come on them. So, they are frightened. So, they always like to go and ask their boss, even if the boss has empowered them. There are many managers who hesitate to, they will go to the boss, and even if the boss says, look, it is your decision, it is your call, go ahead. They say, yes, yes, yes sir, but what do you think? I just want your opinion about it. What is happening there? He is frightened to take the decision. Whereas there are others who may be the other way round. They take decisions which are not within their powers to take also, then you have to pull them up. And what kind of people do that? Usually people with internal locus of control, is it not? So, in assessment center, they stay for a few days, let us say, a team of managers, and you want to assess their potential. By group activity and observations along certain parameters, you can try and assess what is their team working ability, team building ability. There are some managers who are apt to do things only by themselves. They always feel that they can do it better than others, and maybe they are right, maybe they are right. So, they do not like to delegate the work. Whereas, we have seen the basic definition of a manager is one who does his work through the others, is it not? So, he fails in this basic test. Therefore, as you go higher and higher, he has more and more people reporting to him, larger and larger responsibilities. Can such a person be able to do the job successfully if he cannot delegate? So, in an assessment center, you try and assess that. Interpersonal skills, how well can he react with others? Does he have the communication skills which go for leadership? If you are trying to assess a CEO, CEO requires to communicate all the time with outsiders, outside the companies, the stakeholders, with people inside the company. So, that is a basic specification. So, if someone does not have it, you try and assess whether he is trainable, whether he can be made and trained, and most probably he is. But after an assessment center, then you can assess what are the weaknesses and strengths of this group of managers who attended this assessment center, and then make your chart, so to say, for their development. Any questions? Okay. So, here is a little history. Performance appraisal of the individual is said to have begun as early as the Wen dynasty in China. That is, in the beginning, the first 261 AD to 265, where an imperial rater, you had the emperor in those days in China. So, imperial rater appraised the performance of members of the official family. See how progressive it was. The New York Civil Service introduced a formal performance appraisal system just before the First World War, around 1914. So, this is historical. The key word here is formal performance appraisal. See, performance appraisal is done always. A boss always appraises a subordinate, does not it? He does it all the time. But the point here is introducing it in an organization in a formal way. So, this is credited to the New York Civil Service. During the First World War, performance appraisal was introduced in the United States Army by Walter Dill Scott, and at that time they did not call it performance appraisal, it was called man to man rating. Rating means how good or how bad, same as performance, for evaluating military personnel. Many of the things which we learn in modern management now, they originated in the military. So, in some sense, the military can be called the father of modern management, because they dealt with large number of people to perform specific tasks, So, they had to organize themselves and make themselves efficient. Since the 1950s, performance appraisal shifted to people in technical and managerial and professional functions. So, from military, first started with imperial family, then military to professionals. And these early appraisal systems were called merit rating of the employee, merit rating. How meritorious is he? Thereafter, there has been substantial changes in the philosophy and practice of performance management. Any questions? Okay. We will just see a chart, and this gives the trend of development of the performance appraisal, how it historically developed. So, this is a summary, trends in performance appraisal. Here you have terminology, purpose, application, the factors which are rated, and post appraisal interview. So, terminology here, earlier emphasis and present emphasis. Terminology is merit rating, that is what it was called. Now, we call it employee appraisal or performance appraisal. The purpose earlier was determining qualifications for wage increase, transfer, promotions and layoffs. Present emphasis is development. So, remember this is the key word. The emphasis today is on development, how to develop him so that he does his present job better and he can do future jobs better. So, that is the emphasis today. Improve performance on the job and providing emotional security. So, today as we have studied in other topics, that human relations school of thought has come into the resource management, the human resource management and the human behavior fields. Earlier it was on efficiency, which in a way was the scientific management school, and as I said, in a way it was dehumanizing assembly line, all right. And then when the productivity plateaued at certain point, then people thought that now the time has come when instead of looking at scientific ways, time measurement, technological improvements of improving productivity, better turn our attention to the human being who is doing this, because he is the key, and that is where the human relations school came. And you see that affected all areas of management of people. See, even for performance appraisal, now it is on development, improve performance and emotional security. It is recognized that a person who is not emotionally secure in whatever job he is doing, all right, is he likely to perform very well? It is recognized that it may not. It may affect his performance in an adverse manner. People need to feel secure. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay. Application is hourly rated. It was for lower jobs. Hourly rated is what the Americans say. We call it here daily rated. That means their wage is computed on the basis of every day that they come. If they don't come, they don't get wage. And here we say monthly rated. That means if they don't come, all right, are they paid? They are also not paid. But why do you call it monthly rated? Because they compute the daily wage on the basis of a month, 30 days or 28 days or 29 days or 31 days. Whereas daily rated, the weekly off is not counted. They work either 25 days or 26 days, if you see the calendar. So, there is a slight change. If you have an average daily rate, there is a slight increase in the case of monthly workers. Okay. Then factors rated are heavy emphasis on personal attributes. So, a rating form for instance would go like, there will be a item discipline, all right, and then there will be what you want to write about his discipline, okay, the ability, all right, to obey orders or the cooperation. So, what are these? These are personal. And today what is the emphasis? Results, accomplishment and performance. So, the output. Then the techniques were, there were rating scales, statistical manipulation of data for comparison purposes. And today mutual goal setting, that means you as a boss and he as subordinate, you have to both sit together and mutually set your goals. Together is bilateral, is not unilateral. Earlier the boss gave the tasks. Does it mean today bosses don't give tasks? No, it does not mean that. But the emphasis is shifting. Nowadays you expect that your boss will not only tell you, but he will discuss it with you before you have a target. So, earlier the target was set by the boss. Now, you probably have an emphasis on agreeing to a target. And post appraisal, after the appraisal, superior communicates his rating to the employee and tries to sell his evaluation, sell in inverted comma. He says, look, I have given you B grade, and then I will tell you why I have given you B grade, because A, B, C, D, E, F, he gives the reasons, trying to sell. In present emphasis, superior stimulates employees to analyze himself and set his own objectives. For instance, he asks that I want you to do self-rating if he is the boss. Okay, these were the targets we had set for you and this is your result. You know it, I know it. Now you tell me how you would rate yourself. Would it be excellent? Good. You see the change in emphasis? Which is better? Is this mutual bilateral system better? What do you feel? Yes? Why? Why do you feel? You don't think that's better, no? There are two schools of thought. There are some bosses feel that it's better that I evaluate sitting by myself in my cabin, okay, and not tell you anything about what I have evaluated. Exam is there, no marks are given, no feedback. There are bosses like that. Then there are bosses who say, I'll give you the marks, but I won't discuss about it. And there is third category, is not only will I give you the marks, you are most welcome to come and discuss. So if you ask me, sir, why I got this marks, I will explain to you why. So which system is better of the three systems I have told you, which is better for the employee and which is better for the boss? I want to hear your views. Third system is better for whom? Both? Are you sure? You would like to tell each employee why and he will argue with you and you have to convince them. After all, you are the boss. Are you sure? For you that is the best system? Huh? For employees, is it best? Think about it. Be practical. Think we are all human beings. I am the boss. We are following system 3. So you come, I call you, all right, and you ask and I tell you something. You have a choice. You can agree to it or you need not agree to it. If you agree to it, all right, and if you don't agree to it, the outcomes may be different. You have to judge that. Say I am the type of boss, my style is authoritarian. I am following the system of calling you, but generally I think that what I say is right. That's your assessment of me, because we assess the bosses all the time. No? You may choose to agree, although you don't agree, because you feel if you disagree too much, it may be the worse for you in the next rating. Are these the thoughts which go in during the appraisal? On the other hand, he may think that I will disagree with him because I feel he has been evaluating me badly. You are angry and you already applied, you got 2 jobs lined up. What will be your reaction? Different reaction. So I don't know whether the third system is better or not. So don't take everything that you see in books for granted. Some of these systems work better with different types of people, all right. Modern systems sometimes, these are Western systems which we have borrowed. Sometimes they don't work with Indian systems. We have different cultural norms. So there is no yes, no answer here. Some systems are good for some people, some organizations, embedded in some cultures. Other systems are not so good. Many of the companies, okay, which are owner driven companies, run by owners, they may not be able to handle a system which is bilateral. There will be fights, arguments, the whole result will be destructive. So it may be better if they are just given the rating and there is no bilateral discussion. What I mean to say, that is not the system. If someone wants to meet the boss and ask, that's different. But as a system, every boss sitting in the company, calling the subordinate, telling them, that may not work. So, what is the conclusion we are coming to? It may be good for the boss, the third system, and it may be good for the employee. Sometimes theoretically you can do many things, all right, but you choose not to do it. If you don't agree with something, you can have a recourse to court, going to court, litigation. It's a good thing, but sometimes you don't use it at all. So, anyway, are there any questions on this? When you go out to work, you will be in companies where you have a combination of all sorts of these systems. You have to judge yourself and see what works best. Similarly, when you are a manager and you want to institute these systems, don't go blindly and just follow some system which has been followed in the West or some other company in India. Try and work out a system which suits you. So, this we have said, purpose of appraisal we already said for rewards, all right, to determine rewards for work done in the past time period of review for motivating and reinforcement. Then to establish training and development inputs given to the employees. Why? Because we say it is development oriented nowadays. You try to say not only what he has performed, but why he has performed that. Was there any weakness why he didn't perform better? If there is a weakness, does he require training? So, development inputs to be given to the employees. To establish database for human resource planning required for strategic needs of the organizations. So, if you appraise and find that all your managers are decision averse and you have huge growth plans, will they be able to take the decisions connected with growth? So, you have to train them. So, HRP, human resource planning required for strategic needs of the organization. To give feedback to employee for performance improvement. Unless you give a feedback, how do you expect that the employee's performance will improve? So, that is the need. And now, we come to the general appraisal process, which means each company has got refinements of its own, but this is the general framework. So, objectives of performance appraisal: establish job expectations, design an appraisal program, appraise the performance, have the performance interview, use appraisal data for appropriate purposes. Does this make any sense to you? Yes or no? Clear? No. Objectives of the appraisal. Say I call you and say, now this is the month of March, 31st March our year is ending. Now 1st April our next year starts, financial year. So, now we have to decide what are your performance objectives. Then I tell you, look, say we are in the marketing department in, let us say, Kolkata, and we say now we have to set a target, because how much sales orders will you book? Then we have to set a target. So, we discuss, and I ask you, what do you think we should target for next year for you? I ask you as a boss. And then how will you answer? You will probably say, sir, this year my target was 5 crores, but I find that the market is not going to improve. So, I think 5 crore only will be my target. And maybe I say, look, 5 crore can't be, because our top bosses have said there has to be minimum 10% growth. So, it has to be 10% more than 5 crore, because if this is the guideline which has come from the top, each of us, all, not only you, all your colleagues who are, everyone has to do his bit. And then you say, but it will be very difficult. I said, all right, it is difficult, but if it has to be done, you tell me what help you want, but it has to be done, and like that there is a dialogue. So, we are setting the objectives. Second objective may be that see last year what happened, the company launched some new products, but in our region and even in your case, you met your target of 5 crore, no doubt, but the target was mainly by selling the old products. The new products which were launched, you did not sell those, and it is very vital for the company to establish the new products, because the competitors are giving new products in the market. Our old products has got a life cycle after which they may become obsolete. So, it is very important, but it is more difficult to establish a new product. So, the tendency of you people, you fill your quota of target by only giving the new old products. So, you have to put more effort. I say that is your objective number 2. And against that objective I say, now next year out of this, okay, 5 crore plus 10% of 5 crore, that is 0.5, 550. In that you have to have at least 20% new product sales. If you make all of this 550 with old product, that is not good enough, because it is a company objective, and so on. Now, you see, that is objectives of performance appraisal. Okay. This general appraisal process is when you design a form and a process. You have to design as a HR department, and you have to inform others. What I just told you is how it actually works when the process is designed, and the process design is, it will say that management has decided to introduce a new performance evaluation and appraisal system. Circular comes from MD. The system shall have this following objectives. It will be, has been designed to give a fair rating to meritorious people, so that the rewards can be on the basis of objective yardsticks. So, it says so, objectives of performance. It is also given, this system has been designed to try and identify people who have got potential for being given higher responsibility. So, it is general. Establish job expectations. It says in the circular that it is expected that our company will throw up enough managers from internal sources, so that our policy of promoting from within can be maintained, and we do not have to get people from outside. Okay. Establish job expectations. Therefore, managers will have to perform in a manner where they are expected to take decisions within their purview, develop subordinates, do team working, and so on and so forth. Design an appraisal program. Say this program will be as given in Annexure A, let us say. Annexure A says that the bilateral rating sheets are given as follows. They are pre-printed sheets, form number 001. In that it says department, employee's name, employee's pay code number or pay sheet number, all right. Then it says employee's department, say marketing. Then for the financial period, so and so, 1st April 2004 to 31st March 2005. So, it is a pre-printed form, and it says that the appraisal has to be done by the boss twice every year, in the month of September and in the month of March, let us say, that is before the half year. So, the details of what the process. Then it says that there has to be a appraisal and objective setting interview, and this interview must be held with the boss, all right, and after the interview is held, the rating should be given in the presence of the employee, not when he is not there. details like this. Thereafter, the form with the rating given by the boss will have to be sent to the boss's boss. That is also a requirement of the system. The boss's boss shall give his comments, if any, and return the form to the boss. So, all these details are then given in the program that you design. Then appraise performance, all right, performance interview, all this is laid down in the scheme. Sometimes you have to train people how to appraise performance. Many big companies, they train you. It is not easy to assess performance, particularly if the performance of your subordinate has not been very good. It is not easy to give him the feedback in such a way that it is not construed by him, okay, and he receives it negatively, because the whole purpose of giving feedback is to improve the employee. If the boss does not give the feedback in a proper manner, it may backfire. Okay, bad blood is created, the employee feels that the boss is victimizing him. So, a lot of training is given also, how to receive feedback and give feedback, and the use of appraisal data for appropriate processes. So, at the end of it, what is the outcome? Outcome is one or two forms in which ratings are given, isn't it? Ratings are given of overall rating, whether it is A, B, C or D, whatever scale that system has. Also some remarks, isn't it? Remarks for what? Training needs, development needs, because this form is doing two things, is it not? One is performance on the present job, which means what? Past time period. You are appraising someone, say in March 2004, for the work which he has done in the past 1 year, that is the financial year which is ending 1st April 2003 till 31st March 2004. So, past period you do appraisal, that is what you have done, and given a rating. Based on the rating, increments, promotions, lump sum appreciation, some lump sum money reward, all this will be decided by them. But at the same time, there will be some columns on the form where they will say training needs, development needs. So, you may write there as a boss a remark that he will benefit from attending a general management program, okay, of the company or outside. Let him be sent to IIM Ahmedabad for a general management training. He will benefit from that. So, this is the kind of feedback which you will give on the form for whom? For HR department, for your boss and his boss, so that this data is generated, and next time we send people to IIM Ahmedabad, let us say, for training general management, we look and see which are the bosses who have recommended this training, and we pick up in the HR department. Okay? No, say that again, your question.
There are certain columns in the performance evaluation form
Yes,
for recommendation of training, etc.
right.
Whether that goes within the implies or in the favor of implies, if you are recommending for some training, because you may be weak in the particular skill, and that's why you are recommending for some training.
You see, normally the view is it does not go for or against. It is a statement of a fact. The fact is, you accept the fact that every employee, however brilliant he is, has some shortcoming. Okay. If he has a shortcoming, therefore, he has to be improved. There is continual improvement which is possible. Therefore, if you recommend for training, it is not as if you are blaming him. But by the other token, there may be very weak areas. So, it will depend on what you write. If you say that he is good, but he must be developed, because he would be able to take higher responsibility, therefore, I am recommending the training, then that has one connotation. On the other hand, you say that he lacks these skills, say he lacks computer skills, he should be sent for training. Would you say you are blaming the employee? No, may not be. But you say he lacks interpersonal skills, how would it be construed? That you are blaming him? I don't think so. Everyone lacks something, he is lacking that skill. So, you are sending him for training. Now, that is where the perception will come in between the employee and the boss. If the relationship is not good, the employee may feel, dekho, the boss is ruining my future by giving me this training thing. Everyone will think I am kamzor there. But if he is good relation, he says the boss is very good. Actually, I wanted to go and learn computer. If I go outside, I have to pay 5,000 rupees. Here company sends me, I will learn it. So, it depends on the perception. That is why it is so complex to have good performance appraisal when it is bilateral. There has to be a general good feeling between the boss and the subordinate. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to make it work, and the results of it will not be what it is expected to be. Instead of becoming a good meeting where a feedback is received by the subordinate well and there is a good feeling at the end of the interview, there will be conflict which will come after that, emotional disturbance. So, it is very, very difficult to do it well. So, typical appraisal process begins, all right, at the performance period beginning. The employee and immediate superior has a meeting and writes down the objective. All this I am just summarizing what we said, and targets for operational as well as developmental needs and prioritizes them. We did not mention this. If you write 6 or 7 of your objectives and targets, you try to prioritize, that you say which of these 7 or 8 is the most important, okay, and which are less important, and there is mutual agreement. We are talking of system 3 now, remember, because that is supposed to be the most progressive system. During performance period, both have review meetings on the progress of performance, in which employee receives feedback on his performance till date, and the same is written down on the appraisal form and signed by both of them. These are formal systems. At the end of the performance period, the same process is done again, and the final rating for overall performance is given and mutually accepted. So, it is easy to say it, is very difficult to do it. In the event of a dispute, the superior's rating prevails. This is not prevents, prevails. That is what the superior says, because finally he is the boss and he has the prerogative to evaluate you. But it is sent up to the next higher superior for review, so that you are not being victimized, you do not get a feeling. You have a recourse to sending out to high court. Critical behavioral attributes which are considered essential for growth and higher responsibilities are commented upon by the immediate superior confidentially. Usually, attributes about whether he is fit for higher responsibility or not, psychologists say it will give a bad feeling if the employee knows about it. So, that is not told to him, the performance is told, but these attributes are confidential usually, and attempts are made to improve him, but it may demoralize him if he is told that. The next superior sends back the appraisal form, as we said, to the immediate superior, who returns one copy and sends the original to the HR department. So, boss has copy, HR has copy. And then appraisal feedback meetings. Since the foundation of proper appraisal rests on the ability and maturity of each of the two persons involved in the face-to-face interview, both need to be trained on how to conduct these interviews well. This is very, very important. Just cannot introduce a system without proper training to boss and the subordinates. HR department must conduct training programs with expert faculty to train both the givers, this is givers, those who give, of feedback, as well as the receivers of feedback. Okay. Since the appraisal is done both on the operational parameters which lend themselves more relatively to quantification than the development parameters and the behavioral attributes. Perforce, there is always a subjective element in the rating, as we mentioned earlier. You can never have 100%, right. So, we will take a 5-minute break, right, and then continue on this.